like I was gonna prep it, but I'm like, no, we'll see.
Okay.
Hey everybody.
Crack the.
Oh. I didn't know what she said. Honestly.
You know, I know what the last 3 letters mean, but they changed the first one so they mean different things, and I didn't know what the C meant.
So what does it mean in other
She
times?
said, S, T,
Yeah.
you know, C, T,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm. Or they have dying. This is the DC name. DTFL. Dying laughing.
Oh, okay. See, y'all taking me another level. I mean, literally, I feel like I have to open up a notepad and write it all down. So I had a dictionary or something.
I know. Yes. You said DTFL. I was like, I know DTF. Where the L come from?
I be having to figure out too much stuff.
DTFL is dying of laughing. But most people that I've seen use it is from DC or the DMV area.
Well, I learned one from Power.
I'm saying that's one extra letter for me. I
bad.
know DTF, so where? So what was the?
Wait a minute, no.
Yeah, inappropriate.
Just get a dictionary.
But I was like, what's the L now? Laying down.
Well, I didn't know, but you know, for the longest, I watched Power.
Yes.
The executive producer is 50 Cent. Mm-hmm. This really talented showrunner named Courtney Abuga, I think that's her name. Mm-hmm. She a beast. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If anybody has watched Power. But in the scene between Ghost and his mistress lady, she texts him DTF question mark. And I was like, whoa, what does that mean? What are they talking about? I didn't get it. The commercial just came on.
You had to hit that Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, and then I just figured out what it was. Yeah. I didn't know.
Oh, you pieced that together by yourself?
Well, no. I'm talking about, like, I heard it somewhere else, and I was like, ow!
Now it all came together now.
You can say it in 3 letters now?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. That's thanks to Jersey Shore, Mr.
Jeez Louise.
I
Situations.
didn't watch that show.
Naming your situations.
Oh. Really?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that show.
That's what he called it if they was willing to come home. They was
really?
DTF.
Is that right?
And then it was GTL, Gentile Laundry.
I don't know what
GTL.
that means.
Gentile Laundry.
GTL.
I don't know what that means.
Well, look, see, I stayed. I'm proud of myself. I'm pop culture. I'm not just blacktivity, okay?
Black had got past
you
me.
You mainstream culture.
I know mainstream culture too. What's up with that? Bow.
Was it Ratchet or Royalty?
I'm trying to get that money because it's spin green, baby. Speaking of money, spinning green. What an awesome segue.
Yeah.
So we're back. This episode is going to be celebrate, don't tolerate your hot messiness. Because we've been all over the place, but it's been good. But now that we're back, we have financial literacy, and we're going to pass it over to Miss E. Cherie this week, who's going to have our lesson. And why it's not necessarily...
It's not a lesson, though. It's just something we got to think about.
Things us millennials have to think about that are
old people too.
Yeah, especially old people. But as we approach the age where we have to take care of these things for them, it's great to have some insight. So,
well, I guess, and it's crazy because last week, it's Phife Dawg from A Tribe Called Quest passed away.
Oh yeah.
At the age of 45. So this is probably 2-part, I guess. The first part in relation to the 5-foot assassin. That's what they call him.
Phife Dawg.
Yes, the 5-foot assassin. Basically, because he passed away quite young. He passed away at 45, and they said it was due to complications of diabetes, type 1 diabetes, which is definitely something that you can control. And it's been a lot of, like, in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of men of color passing away at fairly young ages due to diseases that could have been either prevented or at least maintained. And so I guess it's more so that, you know, we as black folks, black men and women, but black men especially, we have to go to the doctor. Y'all got to go get checked out and not be afraid of going to the doctor, and making sure that everything is okay on the up and up. There was another journalist that passed away, I believe, last year, and I don't think he was 30 yet, and he passed away from a staph infection or something that, you know, could have been cured. But it's just, we have to go to the doctor more than we are to kind of get a handle on these diseases that are coming up, so that we need to take better care of ourselves.
I'm glad you said that.
I know there's a stigma as to why. I know the historical stigma behind us not wanting to go to the doctors, and us as in
Tuskegee.
Yes, thank you, Miss Evers boys, all of that. So I understand that, but
I won't get a flu shot to this day.
I don't
Neither
either.
will I.
I don't either.
I don't know what's
keeping-
in it, and I never find out.
And I'm saying, and I'm up here saying we need to go to the doctor, but I will not get a flu shot. I'll tell you that much. But we need to check out and make sure that everything is working like it should, so that we are able to live to these older ages. And that's a segue into, before I segue, anyone have anything to add to that?
I just think it's important, like you said, for us to go to the doctor. I have always been a person that goes to the doctor. For whatever reason, I have had good experiences with health and medical professionals. I just have. And when I think of myself being ill or not feeling well, going to the doctor means that they're going to make me well. And it's my hope that most people experience that, but I'm not sure that happens. That's just my experience. I think that there are some things that we need to do ourselves, preventative, as you state, that are going to keep us in such a way that we're healthy, and then we're not causing our loved ones the stress, and and the pressure of not, and the anxiety of not knowing if we're going to be around, or if they're not going to be around, or we're not going to be around. That's a hard pill to swallow in families and in relationships. It's a hard pill to swallow. And I know you're going to segue, but I want to talk about how that's related with insurance.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah. Well, this is the whole money topic, and I'm sure the topic of it's hard to say. It's so weird. It is a conversation that you need to have. Death and money is a whole conversation.
It's very taboo for us as a culture.
Yeah.
Right.
Death and money. But I'm gonna tell you something. When I think of my life, it's one thing that's for certain. We all gonna die.
Yes.
It don't matter what color we are, and you just don't know when your number gonna come up. But we all leaving here. And you could leave here one or two ways. Either you could leave, royal, or you could leave raggedy. Okay? and I'm not trying to say that, this is raggedy, but I have worked my whole life making sure that things are in place, because I do not want to be one of those people who they have to have something on TV that they're raising money for fun, so they could put me away proper.
Yeah, GoFund. We have seen a lot of GoFundMes
that is
for
just
homegoing services.
Oh, that is heartbreaking. But what it tells me is that we don't plan well with our money.
Right.
I got a terrible mind, and I'm a lighten the mood, because I was like, well, maybe everybody who got a GoFundMe out there ain't necessarily looking for the money. They just don't want to spend what they do have, but we're going to leave that alone. I ain't going to talk about who I know who can pull the stunt.
Well, dang.
I know they child mad, like, you going to pull a stunt with my death? Are you kidding me? But
Wow.
anyway.
Well, that was some hot tea.
Scorching.
Right.
Scalding. Eye burning.
So you just going to keep the body.
Shoot, that was some hot tea with a shot of corn liquor.
Just be aware. you need to call and ask if it's a policy underneath that name before you start funding these goals. But
ooh, okay. We touched the nerve, didn't we?
no, I'm not upset. Hey,
I can tell you some stories behind some insurance and some money and some benefits and things like that. And it don't get pretty. It don't be pretty
At all.
when, if things aren't in place. That's the difference between our culture, unfortunately, and other cultures. People buy insurance so that they can have income in place to take care of their families. And they set it up in such a way that y'all, sit down at the table and everybody get told what it's going to be.
Right.
Some people don't like it, but at least it's something to have. Whereas we scramble. And, we go to see whose name is on the policy. Somebody is the first one down to the credit union. It's crazy.
Yes. And
it is absolutely insane.
It's all tied together.
Yeah.
It's your health that you don't take care
That's
of. The
right.
fact that you don't have insurance in place. I'm not even just insurance in place in case, but insurance to go take care of yourself. Go to the doctor.
That's
right.
correct.
I was
Regularly,
just
like-
thinking, we shouldn't even be in. So the actual financial literacy conversation is going to be about retirement homes, right?
Well, not
Okay.
necessarily retirement, but it bounces off what you say about insurance and making sure that you have things set up so that when you do pass on, your family isn't burdened with trying to put you away. The reason why I brought that up is because my grandfather passed away last July. And he was smarter than his time. He was of the time where he had insurance. Him and my dad has been with State Farm. My dad's been with State Farm health or car insurance, house insurance, life insurance for, 50 some odd years, maybe more. And he had a policy set up for him, and his whole family where he went and brought plots.
I heard that.
Down at Lakeview
That
Cemetery.
is so old school.
Yeah, I
old
love
school.
it. I'm going for my tour pretty soon.
Yes.
Yep.
So they have a plot at Lakeview Cemetery.
Yeah.
He's buried next to his wife, who passed away before him, and his wife's father, who passed away before him. So
It's called a family plot.
family plot. And there's a plot for my father that's already paid for. There's a plot for my uncle that's already paid for. And so they had that in place, so they didn't have to worry about that. The only thing they had to do is, whatever you do afterwards and buying a casket or whatever. The only thing that he did not have was a will.
Okay.
He didn't have a living will at the time.
Okay.
And so, I guess with the state of Ohio being that if you get sick, he got sick probably a few years before he passed away. If you get sick and you need to go into long-term nursing care, and if you do not have a spouse living, someone who,
Can make your decision.
right, a beneficiary, or if you did not have a power of attorney, someone in the power of attorney position more than 10 years, the state of Ohio can come and take whatever assets that you have.
That's right.
So my grandfather, he had 2 homes, and the city brought his homes, the plots or whatever, and they gave him the money for it, and they put him in a new house. They had 2-family house or whatever. When he went into the nursing home, he had a lot of money still left up because he was just collecting his Social Security or whatever. His house was paid for. He didn't have to deal with anything. He had a lot of money stashed away or whatever. And they went and they came and took the assets because
That's right. You
my
have to pay
grandmother
for it.
passed.
Yep.
And I think it was just maybe a few months shy of the cutoff for when they switched everything over into my dad and my uncle's names. And so they had to basically switch it back and make the state of Ohio the beneficiary. So whatever money that he had, the house that he had went to the state. It was in the name of the nursing home, I guess.
Because they have to pay for the care.
Exactly.
And they look for the assets to pay for the care.
And so my thing was, I guess, is that we should have had a living will. We should have had all of that stuff done prior to, if we knew that he was going to pass. Well, we didn't know when, of course, but we knew eventually that was going to happen. We didn't know that he was going to have to go into a nursing home, but there should have been a time that somebody sat down and say, you're getting up in age, you don't have beneficiaries anymore, maybe you should, just in case, put something in our names beforehand, make us power of attorneys, or do a trust or whatever for us, and have a living will, so that in the event that happens, you know, the state can't come in there and take your money and take your assets.
The money wasn't in excess of what it cost to be there, was it?
What do you mean?
Like, it was more money than it actually cost, and they kept all of it.
They kept well, I guess he was in there for a few years, so
okay.
Costs a lot of money.
It does cost a lot of money. So they ended up taking the money that he did have, and then the house, and that was another part of the asset. So it got tied up in probate court, all of this. So it's just important for we as people of color to sit down and talk about these things. He had a plot. You know, he had everything taken care of.
He did what he knew how to do.
Right.
He was before his time even knowing how to do that.
Exactly.
We got to move a little past that and do more things because we still behind the curve as a culture on that one.
I think they say insurance and savings account and IRAs is a state building, right? But then it's the estate disassemble that you have to think about as well, because once an estate is built, that's when the government has all the access. So that was the lesson for you guys, that you definitely want to make sure you're saving and cross that hump first, and that you're addressing the fact that you do need to have a pool of money set aside for later. But make sure once that pool of money is set aside for later, the appropriate people have access to it.
And paperwork.
And paperwork for it, and it doesn't go to anybody unnecessarily. Because if you don't have millions of dollars, then the government shouldn't have a piece of it, period.
I think that, you know, for a man who worked for the state of Ohio for, I don't know how many years, but he's worked a long time.
Worked all his life.
Literally all of his life, you know, because he's from Mississippi, so they work when they start walking out in the field. He was a sharecropper. You know, he grew up in Mississippi. He was on a sharecropping plantation, so he worked literally all his life. And to get there and to save up and to actually do well enough for himself to have 2 homes.
Right.
And, you know, his sons has homes and cars, and they never needed for anything. They kept money, you know, whatever.
That's better than the average bear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. But he had all that, and then for the state to come take it because he got sick in the last couple of years of his life. I don't think that, you know, it's not fair, but that's a learning lesson. It was a learning lesson for us.
This is why financial literacy is so important, because there are so many nuances to what we need to do in order to have things in order, you know, because things like this can happen, and they're very unfortunate. After you've worked a lifetime to build some things up, you think you're leaving them, or you think you're setting them up, and they fall short of your goals, and you're gone. So there's nothing else to be able to do.
Right.
Are we good on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to close by saying I don't necessarily want to have that conversation with you guys right now, but I do have my insurance license, and I'm working on a 6 Series, so I'll see y'all in a minute. That's all. We're going to end this segment with our last musical break, and of course we'll be back with See Your Seminar, which is not sex, not politics, not race, but it kind of is, but we won't necessarily go into the topic in depth, but we'll definitely bring it up. All right, this is, let's see who our last song is from Rihanna, and it's Needed Me.